efforts. Please excuse my voice, but I am trying to deal with this RSV that's been going around. It's respiratory, I think something, something, something. But hopefully today will be helpful with your bookkeeping efforts. So just give us a few moments to let uh, all of the participants join us. Good morning. So we're letting as many participants join. And so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jada A. Harris, and I am a SCORE mentor here in the Houston area. I provide SCORE mentoring in the areas of contract management, QuickBooks, bookkeeping, accounting, as well as home health care and startup. So you can reach out to me through my email, which is Jada.Harris. I think I put that wrong in the chat. It should be Jada.Harris@scorevolunteer.org. So let me correct that. So my SCORE email, because I always get that question, Jada, what's your email? So Jada.Harris@scorevolunteer.org. And you can also reach out to me professionally on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn profile is Jada A. Harris, because there's several Jada Harrises, believe it or not, out there, but it's Jada A. Harris is my LinkedIn profile. So let me go ahead and share the screen. We do have one question so far. Evan says, thank you. I thank you for joining. And Evan, thank you for starting the quick Q&A area. If you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A area. If you put them in the chat, we may not get to those at the end of the webinar. By putting them in the Q&A area, it allows us to address them at the end of the webinar. So please put your questions in the Q&A area. Try not to put them in the chat. We've reserved the chat so that you can provide your business information so that you can network with the individuals that, oh, thank you, Gina. For the individuals that have joined this webinar, this is a great opportunity for you to network. I know that we have gotten accustomed to doing the Zooms, and so it makes it a little difficult for us to, good morning, Maria, makes us a little bit become the norm of networking and making it difficult for us to make connections. But this is a great way to put your business name information in there, or just introduce yourselves and let them know your burning questions about bookkeeping. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And so this is for Houston. We are the largest chapter in the United States. So we are a national organization providing some of the same information in every major city in the United States. And we are able to help individuals all over the United States by being the largest chapter. So we are here for the life of your business. That is our mantra. So then this is introduction. Oh, Lord, I done pulled up the wrong presentation. Give me just one moment, please. I'm sorry. I thought I had the right one up. Goodness. Please attribute it to the code. Give me like 5 seconds to do the right thing here. My goodness, Jada. And Okay, so I found the presentation. I didn't get it in the form that we needed in, but I do have the presentation here. I apologize for the misstep here, but this is Bookkeeping Basics. Um, and this is just the fundamentals of bookkeeping as it relates to being a small business owner, allowing you to understand what it takes to manage the income and the expenses that come in and out of your business. Before we can even get to entering information into QuickBooks or understanding your financials, your income statement, balance sheet, we need to manage your transactions, your bookkeeping on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And to get an understanding or a clear view of bookkeeping, it's not just numbers. It's about managing information and documents that ties to the numbers of your business. So with that being said, what we will cover today is we would define bookkeeping. We will talk about sales, expenses, taxes. We will talk about bank reconciliation, which is very important. A lot of bookkeepers, accountants, business owners leave this step out because especially in this digital age, everything is coming across our bank feed. So we feel like, we may not need to do a bank reconciliation, but it's important to do that. And I'll tell you why when we get to that point. We will also address reports, your financial statement, cash flow statement. We will discuss audits, also disaster recovery, which our chapter has produced a tool, a resource for you to utilize as it relates to disaster recovery. And then we'll also talk about automating your books with QuickBooks. We reserve the last 45 minutes, about 45 minutes with Q&A. So if you have any burning questions about bookkeeping, about business ownership, sales taxes, which is another question that comes up, please feel free to put those questions in the Q&A area. Okay, so about SCORE. SCORE started back in 1964. It is a partner with the Small Business Administration. So we do have a lot of resources, individuals that we rely on to provide you with great information to run and manage your business for free. Most of our resources are for free and can be found on our website, which is at houston.score.org. You can find a mentor. You can find business templates like a business plan template, financial statements template, forecasting, as well as marketing templates and much, much more. Our mission is to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. And our vision is that every person has the support necessary to thrive as a small business owner. And if you've been a small business long enough, or you've been an entrepreneur long enough, you know that you need as many resources as possible, and free is always great. So we are a resource for you. As I move through the community, it amazes me that how many people don't know about SCORE, and those people that have thought about starting a small business but didn't know that the resources are out there. So please spread the word. Okay, so again, how do we provide these free resources or next to free resources? That's by giving free business advice or mentoring. Also providing no cost or low cost training like today. We do that now that we're coming out of COVID. We do that both in person as well as webinar, as you can see. And we also provide those free business templates, as I mentioned before. So again, we are a national organization with over 10,000 volunteers. So if Houston SCORE can't help you with your business, you can tap someone in New York, in Washington, in Florida, California. Say you're about to move to a new state and you want to start a business. That's exactly what happened to me. I was moving from Ohio to here, and one of the first things I did was get a SCORE mentor here in Texas. I did utilize SCORE in Ohio when I was laid off from my corporate job. And when I, had that burning desire to start my own business, I did utilize the resources there in Ohio with SCORE. But immediately, the first thing I did when I came to Texas was get a SCORE mentor. All right. So about our chapter. Okay. So our current president is Willie Vergey. We are moving into a new 2023 year, and we do have a new chapter president coming aboard, who is Chris Mahoney. We have over 160 volunteers to help you with everything from startup, marketing, legal advice, CPAs we have as volunteers, anything that you need from startup to closeout, we have within the Houston chapter. We have helped create non-owner jobs, as well as provide you with chapter services like how to start a business. Okay, a little bit about me. Again, I am a SCORE mentor. I became a SCORE mentor in 2019. The areas of mentoring that I provide include contract management, accounting, small business startup, QuickBooks. As you know, I am a certified QuickBooks Pro Advisor, which means that I have been tested and tried through QuickBooks to provide my QuickBooks services, as well as I used to work for QuickBooks Intuit, helping small businesses start up with using QuickBooks and as well as clean up their QuickBooks. So some people have dubbed me as the QuickBooks Whisperer. So if you have questions about QuickBooks as it relates to your business, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. But if you're seeking mentorship, you can reach out to me through my SCORE volunteer email, which I've put into the chat area. I have 25 years of contract and grant management experience, serving through a major university and their two corporations simultaneously. I have a master's in criminal justice and MBA in project management, and my undergrad is in legal assisting, which allows me the understanding of contracts. All right, so enough about that, lady. As I promised, we will define bookkeeping. And according to the definition of bookkeeping, is the activity or occupation of keeping records of the financial affairs of a business. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about the numbers, it's about the documents that you save or retain in order to prove what income and expenses have gone in and out of your business. And through bookkeeping, this webinar, I'll provide you with information on how to do that efficiently. Wikipedia gives us the definition or explanation of bookkeeping is the recording of financial transactions and is part of the process of accounting and business. Transactions include purchases, sales, receipts, and payments by an individual person or an organization, corporation. So bookkeeping is a piece of the financial recording. So it is the bottom level. If you don't have the bookkeeping, you can't get to the accounting level or even the CPA level. Accounting provides you with analytics of your business financials. So, and then the CPA level allows you to make business decisions about how to incorporate, for instance, tax shelters, so on and so forth. And I'll speak more about that later. Okay, so of course, we're in business to make money. We don't, unless, and even if you're a nonprofit, you're in business to make money, because if you can't produce income in a nonprofit, then your business does not move forward. It's just the focus of your business is not to increase profit. The focus is on the community. However, as it relates to being a for-profit business, which I have both a for-profit and a nonprofit business, as it relates to a for-profit, we want to make sales, and we want to make a lot of them. And so in order to do that, we must provide a service or a product. One of the two is sold or both. Once that is done, you provide that sale with an invoice or a sales receipt. The difference between an invoice and a sales receipt, an invoice is expecting payment. The sales receipt has already received payment and you're providing a receipt. Just like when you go into Walmart, you go through the scanner, you pay for it, you receive a sales receipt. You go to Sam's and you make a bulk order through your business, they will provide you with an invoice to pay for it when you pick it up or at a later date. Of course, the payment is received and then the payment is reconciled with the invoice. So I'm, 25 years of experience. So I do remember before it was automated where we would take the invoice and the paper receipt and staple it together and put it in a file cabinet. Then the payment is recognized by the bank, and then revenue and cash accounts increase. Now that's more of an accounting term, but just on the bottom basic, two accounts within your accounting is affected when you have a sale or an expense. So one of those accounts increase and the other accounts decrease. I don't want to delve too far into this because that's accounting and that takes a lot more of an explanation than bookkeeping. So I just want to keep this surface level so that we won't get carried away. And then of course, once those accounts, as everything is reconciled, we retain that record. Why do we retain the record? So that we can, one, utilize it to make business decisions. Two, so that we can make purchases or sales of our investments, or to prove to the bank that we received the income. And then thirdly is to prove if at all an audit presents itself that the income is valid. So that's sales. So as one of my former professors used to say, or PhDs that I used to work with, you have to spend money to make money. And those of you that are in startup, I'm sure you had to, buy that laptop, buy that pen, paper in order to get started with your business before you actually received any income. So with that being said, now, first of all, let me explain. I have these charts here, both in the sales and expenses area, because to show you of a workflow. This is an example of a workflow. So if you can visualize yourself in this workflow, receiving a bill, okay, you receive the bill from Reliant Energy, okay? Of course, you pay before you pay that bill. Analyze it. Did they overcharge you? Can they overcharge you? Yes. Is everything appropriate on the bill? That's part of bookkeeping. I mean, especially in this automated age, a lot of people just click the button, pay it, or it's on automatic payment. But as business owners, you want to be responsible of reviewing the bill before you actually pay it. You don't want to be like me. And this wasn't through my business, but this was personal. I made a purchase through Walmart through Black Friday last year, and I put it on a credit card that I normally don't look at, or actually a bank account debit card that I normally don't look at. And in order to get the Black Friday deal, I had to sign up for their, membership. But I had no plans of keeping that membership. Totally forgot about it. It wasn't until May when I remembered that or saw on my, I looked at my, bank statement again. I mean, I'll tell you, only like maybe 3 transactions go through that bank account. I just, took it for granted. Plus, it was only $12.99. So I didn't see any difference on my bank account for real. And it wasn't until May I had to look at it for another reason. And every month they have been pulling $12.99 out. And I wasn't taking advantage of that membership. So you want to analyze your bills, your bank statements, everything, especially as a business owner, at least on a monthly basis. So you're going to review the bill, you're going to pay the bill. And then just like we did with the sale, we're going to take the bill and the payment and reconcile it. Okay, we're going to make sure that they match. Can you get overcharged? Of course you can. So you want to reconcile those things. The expense is then recognized by the bank, and then the expense line increases and the cash line decreases as it relates to accounting. Again, surface level. The transaction is complete, and then just like with the sale, we're going to retain the record. Whether that you're going to retain it in paper, or you're going to retain it in the cloud, or on your computer on a device, but you do want to retain the record. And I'll tell you some of the requirements of the IRS as we move forward. Okay, so taxes. That's another concern as it relates to bookkeeping. The first and foremost is sales taxes. And again, I'm not going to go deep dive into sales taxes. What I will tell you is that you should reach out to the Texas Comptroller's Office if you're located here or you do business here in Texas to find out if you should be collecting sales taxes. Primarily, sales taxes are on products that you sell, not on services. There are some services that require sales taxes, and that's why you should reach out to the comptroller's office to determine if your business or services require sales taxes. But all products require sales tax. So you should set up a sales tax account with the comptroller's office. You serve as a conduit between your client or customer and the comptroller's office. Just like Walmart. Walmart is a conduit for the comptroller's office, as well as, the Texas, wherever they sell products. And so when they take your, when you purchase a comforter from them and they charge you that 8.25% on that comforter purchase, they take that 8.25% and give it to the comptroller's office. That is your job if you sell products. So that it's very important that you get with the comptroller's office to get that set up, because if you are selling products and not collecting sales taxes, that could cause problems for your business, and you could be charged penalties and fees for not being set up appropriately. Other taxes that you should be concerned with is self-employment taxes, which are generally collected quarterly for businesses, small businesses, especially those who are sole proprietors. Even if you're a sole proprietor LLC, or an S Corp or a C Corp, where you're not set up as an employee, then you should be paying estimated self-employment taxes on a quarterly basis. There is a caveat to that, and you can find this information on the IRS website as it pertains to self-employment taxes. If you did not owe in the previous year, you may file on an annual basis. But again, talk to your accountant, your CPA, or reach out to the IRS office to ensure that you are paying your self-employment taxes appropriately. Another tax that you should be concerned with is your annual taxes. So if you are a sole proprietor LLC, then you should be paying taxes on a Schedule C when you submit your 1040 form in April. If you are S Corp or a C Corp, then you file on a different date, which is March 15th, and that is separate from your personal taxes. You do want to speak to a CPA in order to understand your business designation, whether you're a sole proprietor, S Corp, C Corp. Again, we do have CPAs through our mentoring through SCORE for free that you can have this conversation with. Now, the thing with SCORE, and as far as our mentors, as far as me, we can help you as far as we can provide you with mentorship. We can talk to you about it, but we cannot do the work for you. So if you need your taxes done, the mentors cannot do your taxes. We can provide you with advice as far as your taxes, but when it comes down to filing your taxes, or if you need a business plan executed, you need a financial plan, we cannot do those for you. You would possibly be referred to 3 referrals that could execute those things for you. Another tax that you should be concerned with, and a lot of people forget about it, and that's the property tax. If you have a brick and mortar, if you work from home, this is not for you. But if you have a brick and mortar, you have a coffee shop, you have a retail shop, you must pay property taxes through the state of Texas, through the city of Houston. And that includes anything that is related to your business. So if you have desks, computers, shelving, the sign outside of your brick and mortar, you have to pay property taxes on those. And you do want to reach out to the state of Texas, city of Houston, in order to get that set up, and so that you won't be assessed penalties and fines for not having that set up. And then lastly, there's the franchise tax. Now, if you're a sole proprietor, this is not for you. Anyone that is an LLC, S Corp, C Corp, the franchise tax applies to you. And when you purchased your LLC, the comptroller sent you a letter to let you know that you were responsible for filing a franchise tax. A franchise tax is information information report unless you exceed the 1.8 million threshold that is as it relates to franchise taxes. So if you're netting 1.8 million, then you could be paying for franchise tax. But if you don't make 1.8 million, you fall under that threshold, which only requires you to file the report. The report is due on May 15th of every year, unless it's extended for other reasons. But it's due May 15th of every year. Once you file that report, you're done for the year. The comptroller's office does send you a reminder in January that the franchise tax is due on May 15th. If you do not file it by May 15th, you will be assessed a $50 late fee for not filing it on May 15th. If you do not file it 3 years in a row, then your franchise tax, as well as your LLC, will put on hold, and you will not be able to do business in the state of Texas until that is rectified. It is easy to rectify it. You just go to the comptroller's website, you make your payments, you let them know that you're still doing business. This is just letting the state of Texas know that you still are doing business here in the state of Texas. So again, it's an informational report. Unless you file it late, then it's a $50 fee. If you exceed the threshold of 1.8 million, then you may be assessed a franchise tax tax payment. So again, this is great information to talk to a CPA about. You can also reach out to the comptroller's office and they'll clarify any questions for you. But this is something that you are responsible for as a business owner. So that's the kind of the boilerplate of taxes as it relates to business ownership. Are there more taxes out there? Of course. And that's the reason why you should reach out to an accountant or a CPA to help you understand what taxes are that you're responsible for as it relates to your business. Okay, so I told you before, bank reconciliation usually falls out in the people forget. And they forget, or they just don't want to do it. It's, this can be complicated, it can be time consuming, monotonous. It's just something that people, don't pay too much attention to. It is the last bookkeeping effort that you should be doing on a monthly basis. But if you have an automated system like QuickBooks, it's very easy to do. It's so easy, it makes you want to cry. But again, 25 years, I remember doing this by hand, where I physically checked off that the invoice went through and then checked off on the bank statement that it went through the bank. So in this day and age, we don't have to do that because we have automated systems like QuickBooks. If you don't have QuickBooks, then you'll be doing your bank reconciliation by hand or through another resource like Ways, or not Ways, I'm sorry. Through another bookkeeping resource like QuickBooks, like Xero. So the bank reconciliation allows you to compare your records to what the bank has. And what is important about that is that it allows you to know that the bank has not made a mistake or you haven't made a mistake. Everything ties together and ensures that, again, that the bank is correct. You should do it on a monthly basis. Okay. And it should all balance. I've stayed up many a nights trying to find the missing 10 cents on the bank reconciliation. Um, and but it should balance. There also, if it doesn't balance, then you just note the discrepancy. 10 cents is off. And more than likely, what it is that you just need fresh eyes. You'll go back to it tomorrow, the next day, and you'll find that 10 cents, it just was off. One of the numbers was off by 10 cents. So that's bank reconciliation. But again, what you're trying to do is make sure that your records match the bank. And a lot of people are saying, I don't understand. Every transaction, I use my debit card. Every transaction goes through my bank. So why am I comparing the records? Well, what and if you ever are audited, the bank, or excuse me, the IRS wants to know that you have control over your business, that the bank is not telling you what income you brought in or what expenses that you had, but you are instead having record of the income that you did bring in and the expenses that did go out, and it does reconcile with the bank. That's what the IRS wants to know. I'm not trying to scare you with audits. I'm just saying that if we're going to run our businesses and we're going to run them efficiently, let's use the audit, or excuse me, the IRS as a resource so that we can do it appropriately, so that if we're ever audited, they can't say that we did it wrong because we did it exactly the way that they told us to do it. Okay, and you can go onto the IRS website and find those resources. So if you have questions about self-employment taxes, go to the IRS website and they'll give you a full explanation of self-employment taxes. They'll give you a full explanation of S corporations and C corporations. So it is a great resource. They are a policing agency. So, one of my master's degrees is in criminal justice. And so when I taught criminal justice, it is made aware that the IRS is a policing agency. So there are, making sure that, what is going through small businesses is, truly going through your small business, that this isn't a legit business. And if you don't, then they assess fees and sometimes jail time. So again, I'm not trying to scare you, but it's just letting you know what is out there and what, why the agency exists. Okay, so reports. As a business owner, reports are the most important things that you utilize to analyze your business. Okay, so we've been talking about bookkeeping, and as it relates to sales and expenses, taxes, all those good things, bank reconciliation, all of that information rolls up into your statements, into your financial statements, which include your income statement, which is also known as a profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, as well as your cash flow statement. Okay, the two most important are the income statement and balance sheet. And then the cash flow statement is another report that you can utilize to analyze your business. So these reports should be completed on a monthly or at least a quarterly basis. You want to review them for your current financial position, such as the income statement allows you to understand that, hey, I brought in $5 million this month and I had $4 million in expenses. So my net income for the month of October is $1 million. And then also you use these reports to analyze future decisions. So if you're making $1 million a month and you want to make $3 million in the following month or every month in the following year, then you're going to analyze these reports to understand how you can do better as far as pulling in sales, as far as reducing your expenses, increasing your tax shelter, so on and so forth. So these statements allow you to do that. The balance sheet provides you with your current equity in your business. So the assets, your bank accounts, your fixed assets, your trucks, your anything that you own your assets, minus your liabilities, credit cards, payroll, anything that you owe, equals the equity in your business. And that allows you to understand how much your business is worth and how much you can leverage your business if you want to get a loan, if you want to onboard an investor, but it allows you to make these financial decisions. So that's why your reports are so important to you. Okay, so here's some bookkeeping notes that you should be aware of. Cash versus accrual. Okay, so this is a designation of your business that you should make at the time of starting your business or at the beginning of each year. You don't want to change this designation often, but it's important for you to be aware of it, and especially as it relates to filing your taxes, because that is a question on your tax return that it will ask as far as your business tax return. So on the sole proprietor Schedule C tax form at the very top, it'll ask you if you're a cash or accrual-based business. So what's the difference between the two? Cash means that you accept payment at the time of service. Does that allow you to give payment terms, which means net 10 days or pay in 45 days? Yes, you can do that. As compared to accrual means that you provide the service over a period of time and you collect the money over a period of time. Usually this relates to construction work, especially as it relates to government contracts. You get the contract today. It takes 45 days for the contract to get started. It takes another 45 days for you to get paid. So that will be an example of accrual-based method. Another bookkeeping note is GAAP, or Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. You can Google that. Google Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, or GAAP, and it'll provide you with definitions and understandings of what's expected as it relates to accounting. So any person that is an accountant or a bookkeeper, CPA, business owner should be aware of these principles so that it will guide them through making business decisions, as well as inputting data into your financial tools, such as QuickBooks. An example of a company that did not use generally accepted accounting principles is Enron. I'm gonna just leave that right there on the shelf, and y'all kind of play with that for a little bit. All right, so then also debits and credits. Again, this is an accounting term. I'm not going to delve too far into it. But again, like I mentioned before, whenever you have a sale, whenever you have expenses, two sides of your accounting will be affected. Two accounting lines will be affected, and that's the debit and the credit. Debits are always on the left side and credits are always on the right side. So anything that is debited from your business or is proven as a debit will be on the left side of a T account. And see, I'm going too far. I know. So, but just be aware of those terms so that when an accountant speaks to you about it, you can either ask more questions or you're aware of what he or she is providing to you. Another bookkeeping note that is very important and usually baffles people in this day of age of automation is that you should keep your receipts, especially if they're over $75. And again, people are thinking, hey, it comes across the bank fee. What do I need to keep these paper receipts for? Because you need to prove that what you use to purchase this product or whatever this expense is for. Say you took someone out to dinner, a future client out for dinner. The IRS wants to see that, yes, two dinners were purchased, two drinks were purchased, one dessert was purchased, and that you've written on the receipt, dinner with potential client XYZ, and then the date, of course, is on the receipt. So they want to see that breakdown. Because if, say, for instance, you did go to Capital Grill, is it possible for you to spend $150 on yourself at Capital Grill? Dun, 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 dun. Yes, yes, absolutely. And so the IRS wants to make sure that, yes, you did take someone else out and you did have a conversation. And guess what? Because you put that person's name, and you should, on the receipt, they may call that person and ask, hey, did you have dinner with Jada on November 5th at Capitol Grill? And that person will say, yes, we did. We had an enjoyable time. She allowed me to order the lobster and she paid for it. Yeah, don't get any ideas, guys. Okay. All right. But yes, please keep your receipts. So the thing is like all these paper receipts, what am I going to do with them? Yes, you can put them in a file cabinet. But if you have QuickBooks, you can snap the receipt with your phone and it will automatically upload into your QuickBooks and it'll forever live in your QuickBooks. And you do not have to keep that paper receipt. You can throw it away. If the IRS ever comes and does audit you and they say, let me see that receipt, you can print it off for them and that is sufficient. Okay. So yes, I just gave you a tip that you enjoyed. Yes, I did. Okay. So here we also, the other tip is that you must retain your records for 3 days. All right, Gina, I see your hand up and I will get to your question in just a moment. You must retain your records for 3 years, according to the IRS. So that means we're coming up on the year 2023. That means 2019 should get purged. You should throw those records away. You do not have to retain them. There are some business owners that like to save their records from inception, but do know that those are auditable if the IRS finds cause to go back further than 3 years. So I'm not telling you that you must throw them away. I'm just letting you know that that is the process. And what can happen if you do retain the records longer than 3 years. Now, if you have a contract with a government and they require you to retain those records for 6 years, then you must retain those records for 6 years to be compliant with that government agency. With that being said, does that make those records auditable by the IRS? Absolutely. They have access to it because you are retaining those records. So all of this information can be found on the IRS website. And I was teaching a class yesterday, an in-person class, a hands-on in-person class for QuickBooks yesterday. And one of my students, he tested me and he, went to the IRS website. And sure enough, on the IRS website, it does tell you to retain the records for 3 years. Okay, so those are some bookkeeping notes that if you don't take anything else away from this webinar today, these are the notes that I would like for you to retain. Now, I do want to talk to you about audits, further explain. So an audit is simply a paper trail of what you've done over a period of time. That's simply that. When I worked for the university, I did experience audits through Ernst & Young. And in the beginning, the first audit that I did, which was for the previous year that I was not the accountant, they found, they deemed me because of what the previous accountant did, some issues, problems, things that were lapsed. But the following 3 years that I worked for that division of the university, I received 0 findings. So I am conscious of what is included of a audit. But again, it's simply an audit trail, or excuse me, a paper trail of what you've done in your business. So keeping those receipts, keeping those documents is important. If, for instance, you don't have the documents, if it's simply that you just didn't keep good records, then the IRS will deem you and say, you know what, you need to keep XYZ, this is what you need to do, and they may assess you a fine or a penalty. If the records, it was destroyed through a Harvey flood, that's something that you couldn't control. But all you would say to the IRS auditor or to your contract auditor is that they were flooded. You did make an effort to keep the records, but it didn't happen. So there are things that you can do in order to retain the information. If it's not a true paper trail, you can put it in the cloud, which is a QuickBooks opportunity. All the information is stored in the cloud, so you can access it anywhere, anytime in the world. And so if you don't want to use QuickBooks, then you can use other cloud-based services. Google has one that you can pay for in order to retain your records to avoid records being destroyed. For you to understand what is expected in an audit is what is called the ISO standard. And so if you Google ISO standard, it will provide you with details of what is expected when you go through an audit. You can be audited by multiple agencies. I use the IRS because everyone knows about the IRS, but you can be audited by the Comptroller's Office. You can be audited by the City of Houston. You can be audited by the state of Texas. You can be audited by anyone if they find cause. So you don't want to just keep the records for to worry about the IRS. You want to keep the records as good business practices as a business owner. So don't let an audit scare you into doing what is appropriate for your business. Do what's appropriate for your business because you want to have good financial records to help you grow and advance your business. The reason why I have construction and restaurants on here as it relates to audits is because they are the two industries that get audited the most by the IRS. And that is because they have so many employees that go in and out of their business. Those of you that have your favorite restaurant know that, more than likely you go there, you see your favorite waiter or waitress, and 6 months later they can't be found, and that's because they just move on to another restaurant, and that's what happens. But because that happens, the IRS audits those industries the most to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So if you have a construction business or restaurant business, you may get audited more than a consulting business, for example. So I just wanted to let you know about audits and what your expectations can be. Again, Google ISO standard, and that'll help you understand it better. Okay, I mentioned earlier that we have a resource, a tool that you can utilize in the case of a disaster. A lot of people that went through the Harvey and Katrina disasters here in Houston, Texas, were not able to recover from their, not only personally, but also from a business perspective, because they did not have the records or information necessary to restart their business. For instance, during the COVID situation, if your business did not have income statements and balance sheets to prove that you were in business prior to February, I think it was February 12th or 10th or something like that, then you were not able to receive an EIDL loan, was it EIDL grant or the PPP loans. So if you did not retain those records or have them in the cloud or be able to prove those things, then you were not able to receive that funding. Those people that were affected, those businesses that were affected by Harvey and Katrina, were not able to recover because they could not provide. So I'll give you a good example of, say you have your income statement, balance sheet, but the copy machine, the $5,000 copy machine that you had in your brick and mortar or even in your home that you utilized in your home office was flooded and destroyed. But you did not keep the serial number, you did not keep pictures of it. The insurance company may not give you or may not entertain your insurance policy because you did not retain those records. So what SCORE Houston has done has created a go bag checklist that allows you to physically check off what you have in your business and allow you to store that information or give you resources of where to information in the case of a disaster. We also have one as it relates to personal, so flashlights, that radios, that kind of thing, but it's posted on our website under the resources tab. So if you go into that resources tab, the link is posted here. But if you go to that resources tab in our on our Houston.score.org website, you'll find that go back checklist. So if this will take us to the link, let's see here. Hopefully it's still active. So this is what the go back check looks like. And it allows you to understand what is needed in order for you to be prepared in case of a disaster. And so a lot of people don't know what is needed. I'm from Ohio. And so the disasters we have up there is tornadoes. So that's one thing, but things that are flooded, now that I've moved here, this is a great resource for me to have and to utilize in the case of a disaster. Okay. All right. So one of the last things that I want to talk to you about is automation. I've said that throughout it. I've said QuickBooks. I've given you the example of Xero, which is another resource. I am, of course, a champion of QuickBooks, not just because I work for them, not just because I utilize it for my clients, but because I utilize it for my own business. And it is a resource that makes running my business so easy, or so much more easier. Does it have kinks and issues? Yes. It's technology. That's what's going to happen. Nothing's perfect. None of us is perfect. And of course, this technology is not going to be perfect, but it is it is the best. So like my students said yesterday, or my attendees said yesterday, he better get on board, because it's going to go, it's going to be a fast train as far as it relates to getting his bookkeeping done, and done efficiently. So QuickBooks helps you to automate and track your sales, expenses, payroll, taxes, mileage, everything that we talked about. You can automate it, and it's a click of a button of things that you can do, rather than doing all of those things by hand. So when I showed you that workflow, that was by hand, doing those things step by step. But within QuickBooks, all you have to do, all of that's behind the scenes. You just click a button, a couple of buttons, and it does everything that you need it to do in order to retain your information and do it effectively for your business. It produces those financial statements. I can't imagine being in the 1800s when they did everything by pencil and paper. All of this existed back in the 1800s, but they had to do it by paper. I mean, it had to take hours, days. I would not be an accountant in the 1800s. Even though this is my talent, this is my gift that God has given me. I will probably be one of those reluctant Jonahs, just not do it, by hand. But with QuickBooks, I'm able to click a couple of buttons, and it makes me more efficient. It allows me to teach other people how to use QuickBooks. It allows for me to empower women, single moms, and minorities to be bookkeepers themselves. So I enjoy using QuickBooks. It is a great tool. It is a cloud-based system, which again, you can store all the information in the cloud. If your computer, if the cat decides to use your computer as a litter box, then it's not destroyed. It's in the cloud. Or if you're at the beach and all of a sudden you get hit by a wave, while doing some work, hey, it's in the cloud. You don't have to worry about it. And you can run to any, I'm going to say Kinko's, or now it's FedEx, but that's how old I am, Kinko's, and get onto one of their computers, and your information is safe. You can go log on to QuickBooks and your information is safe. And then also QuickBooks provides bookkeeping support. I will say that their bookkeeping support can be pricey, as well as you never know when or where your bookkeeper will be. So the bookkeepers are all over the United States. And so you may have that same bookkeeper next month, or you may not. So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's something to be aware of if you decide to use their bookkeeping support. Instead, I would suggest using their Pro Advisor search program, which allows you to look for a bookkeeper or accountant or CPA in your area. You would just simply put in your zip code, and it allows you to find someone in your area to help you with bookkeeping if you don't want to do it yourself, or you've grown so big that you can't do it on your own. So that is a great problem to have if you do. So here, before I gave you some bookkeeping notes, now I'm giving you some bookkeeping tips. Now, these are as I've had 25 years of experience. And let me explain. I started out at the college. Now, the college that I work for, the university that I work for, I was a student, I was a staff member, and I was also a faculty member. So I know that university inside and out. Okay. I know all the hiding spots, all the good things, all the, things about this university. And so as a student helper, one of my first positions was uh, bookkeeping, so to speak, as it relates to grants and all the transactions that went through them. Let me tell you, and these universities get these $1 million grants. There's a lot of transactions that go through on it. And so that's where my bookkeeping experience started. And as I moved through the university as a student, staff member, and faculty, it allowed me to increase my bookkeeping and accounting skills and contract management skills. So these tips that I have for you, that number one, Uncle Google is your friend. So I've said it a couple of times throughout the presentation. Google generally accepted accounting principles, and it'll tell you exactly what it is. Google debits and credits, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to understand. Google ISO standard. Google, say, Uncle Google, what does bank reconciliation, what's included in a bank reconciliation, and all of that, anything that you need to understand better, put it in Google. It'll give you the resources, videos that you need. One of the resources that I utilize as it relates to QuickBooks or accounting is Hector Garcia, who is an accountant, a CPA over there in Miami, but he has utilized QuickBooks for his business as well as his clients, and he gives some great videos. You'll find some other presenters. I gravitate towards Hector. He does a great presentation on different bookkeeping and accounting information that you should know. Secondly, open a business bank account. So those of you, especially those who are sole proprietors, a lot of you start using your personal bank account. Hey, I did it too. But the IRS does not want you to commingle your funds. So it's important for you to open a business bank account. Now, there are different types of bank accounts. I'm one of those people that like to pay less fees as possible. And so my business bank account is through a credit union. And so I don't pay a monthly business bank fee. I don't, they don't charge me that. And they are more likely to work with small businesses as far as loans and things like that. My credit union has done wonderful things that helped me get my PPP loan. So that's what is where I would start if you don't have a business bank account. But you can get a business bank account anywhere. But I suggest you to get it. Another reason why you should is that if you decide, next year you want to purchase a home or you want to purchase a car, the loan agency is going to want to see that income came through your business in order for you to prove how much income you have. If it comes through your personal account, you can't prove that income was business related. Even if you have the invoice, you have the sales receipt, they're going to say, great, but it didn't go through a business bank account, so we can't consider that as business income. So that's another reason why you should get a business bank account. You also want to develop a workflow system. So the example that I gave you earlier with the sales, the flow chart of the sales, that's an example of a workflow system. And the reason why you want to develop that now, even as a sole proprietor, is so that when you get bigger and you have to onboard staff, contractors, administrators, bookkeepers. You have that information already ironed out for you, and it's not you trying to figure it out while you're onboarding these individuals because you're, trying to grow your business and you're trying to help your clients all at the same time. So develop that workflow system, put it on paper so that when you onboard an administrative assistant or bookkeeper, you can simply say, here, this is what we do or what I do on a daily basis. I need you to duplicate this. Okay, so that's what I mean by develop a workflow system. Automate your system. So you're handing them this piece of paper to say, hey, this is my workflow system, and we use QuickBooks to automate it. Okay, so use an automated system, and it doesn't have to be QuickBooks, but that's the one that I suggest. You do want to retain your records. I said that all through the webinar, retain your records. You also want to ask a pro. So you can reach out to Houston Score in order to find out information. Say you do get audited and you just don't know what to do. The first inkling is to reach out to a CPA, but they're going to charge you, $150 an hour just to provide you with their opinion. What I suggest is come to SCORE first, talk to our CPAs, let them give you the opinion. And that way, when you go to the CPA who's going to charge you, you have a roadmap of what needs to be done. And then you can tell them, okay, I need X, Y, Z done. And, tell me what you charge for that. I don't want to know what your consulting fee is. Tell me what you charge for, handling this tax return or handling this audit or so on and so forth. You can do that as it relates to attorneys. We have attorneys here within SCORE that you can talk to for free. Same thing with a marketing plan. We can help you develop that marketing plan, and you take it to a social media person and they can execute that plan for you instead of them charging you a consulting fee and then executing their plan. Okay. All right. Outsource. So I mentioned earlier that I help single moms, women, and minorities with starting their business. And as a single mom myself, I know how hard it is to delegate as a business owner the things that are needed to run my business. But you need to outsource as much as possible so that you can efficiently run and grow your business. If you try to do it all yourself, you are going to wear yourself out, and then your business is going to suffer from that. Or you're going to stay stagnant. If you sell cupcakes, you're only going to sell 150 cupcakes per month because it takes so much energy to do that. But if you get a contract and they need, 5,000 contracts by the 5th, or 5,000 cupcakes by the 15th, you're going to need to outsource, get somebody in and help you make those cupcakes. I know the fear is that they may not make it as best as you will, but in order for you to grow, you need to train them and show them how to do it the way that you do it, so that you can grow your business. So outsource. Okay. Another pet peeve or tip, not pet peeve, tip that I have is expect payment at the time of service. One of my struggles that I had when I started my business was pricing. And I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to be, a resource. And I didn't know how to price my business. I would, look at things and, me not understanding, business as a new entrepreneur, I didn't want to charge what, other accountants charge because they were charging, $200 per month. That seemed to be expensive. But if you don't charge your worth, you're not going to get paid your worth, but you're going to still put in that effort because you've now contractually provided your services to someone. And so if you charge them $75 when you should have charged them $200, guess what? You're going to work just as hard for that $75. So, and when you do invoice and provide your services, expect payment at the time of service. Do I give, my clients 5 days to pay or 10 days? Yeah, of course. But always expect payment at the time of service. And then lastly, especially as it relates to bookkeeping and accounting, everything is fixable. So especially as it relates to QuickBooks, you cannot destroy it. I promise you. And even if you do cause a problem, call a pro advisor, call me. It can be fixable. okay? Or email me. It can be fixable. Now, again, with SCORE as a mentor, I can't help you with the QuickBooks as far as fixing the problem. I can talk to you about it. I can encourage you as far as what subscription to purchase. I could, consult you as far as, QuickBooks as it relates to your business. But as far as problems with the resource that you have, say, for instance, you did your bank reconciliations wrong. I cannot help you as a mentor. So if you need help fixing something, then you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. And then we can have a discussion about that. But if you just need mentorship as it relates to QuickBooks, or just mentorship as it relates to contract management, mentorship as it relates to startup, then please feel free to reach out to me in my email, which is in the chat. But I do warn you, and because I get this all the time, once I mentor you, I cannot work with you as a client. So if the minute that I mentor you, I cannot work with you as a client for at least 3 years. We have an ethics policy here within Houston, and I abide by that strictly, because I don't want to mentor you and it be erroneously. I want to provide you with mentorship. I am a teacher first, but if you do need help with your QuickBooks, as far as fixing something, then do reach out to me on LinkedIn. All right, there are some other resources that are available to you on the IRS website. I have those links there, but you can simply go to IRS website and type in self-employed tips, small business tips, or the gig economy tips, which is your Uber drivers, your DoorDashers, so on and so forth. All right, so now we have, with 3 minutes ahead of time, reached our Q&A area of the webinar. So I thank you for hanging in thus far. So I'm gonna go ahead to the Q&A area, which we have 19 questions. If you have put a question in the chat, go ahead and move it over to the Q&A area so that we can address your questions. So Anonymous says, hi, will we receive the recording and slide presentations? Yes. So this is being recorded on YouTube right now, and so that link will be provided to you. Anonymous, to start a small business, is cash or accrual account better? Is accrual account required in Texas? So it really just depends on your business and how your business is structured. So I explained earlier what cash versus accrual is. So if your business is accrual based, meaning that you receive, you provide your services or products over a period of time, and you expect payment over a period of time, then that's accrual based. Most businesses are cash based because you accept payment at the time of service. Okay, so Carlos, let's say I put, he says, let's say I put 10K into my small business checking account, and 6 months later I withdraw 5K. From bookkeeping perspective, how to record this, and are there any tax implications? So, okay, yes, there is tax implications that will apply to this. So when you deposit the $10,000 into your business bank account, that is an owner's investment. That's how you should categorize it in your QuickBooks or in your accounting system, as a owner's investment. When you withdraw the $5,000, that will be an owner's pay. When you file your taxes, when you file your taxes, that 5K will be assessed self-employment taxes, okay, because you took that 5K as income. All right. So Carlos also says, is QuickBooks still best bookkeeping software, or is there something better out there? I think I've answered your question on that one, Carlos. QuickBooks is the best. There are other systems out there. If you don't like QuickBooks, and not everybody does, there are other systems out there, and I've used other systems, but QuickBooks is superior. Okay, Carlos says, do I have to budget when I get started? budget is hard when I do not have previous records to compare against. So in my 25 years of experience, I've done budgets, of course, and generally, if you don't have any records or any expenses of sales prior to creating that budget, you would estimate. Okay, and so what you would use is information pertaining to your industry, pertaining to your business, and forecast or estimate out what your business could possibly make or expense within a year or whatever period of time you're doing the budget. You can go to resources, or use your competitors' information in order to understand what you could possibly budget. So say, for instance, your competitor charges $100 an hour for their consulting fees, for instance. And you know that you can contribute 20 hours a month to consulting. So that allows you to understand how much income you can bring in for consulting. And then your expenses, of course, are going to be bottom basic is you're going to be your office expenses and office supplies, internet, phone, and things like that. And then the things with budgets is that they can be tweaked over periods of times. You do want to visit your budget monthly. So when I work for the corporations, we would, in addition to going over the income statement, balance sheet, we would also analyze the budget to see if we needed to tweak, an expense line for the future. For instance, we needed to, we find out in April that we need to purchase a new copier, then we need to tweak that line for the remainder of the year to support that copier. So there are strategies for creating a budget. Again, that's something that you can Google and find more information about. If you need mentorship on that, then please reach out to Houston Score and we can assist you with that as well. Okay, Travis. Okay, Travis, how should we go about that ourselves? Okay, I'm not sure. Oh, reconciliation. Okay, so again, QuickBooks is an easy resource to do the bank reconciliations. However, if you don't have QuickBooks or you're using another resource, then you would have to do it by hand, and it's very difficult to do. Or it's not difficult to do, but it's time consuming. But you do want to take all of your transactions and income and expenses that you did per month within a month's period of time and compare that to what's on your balance sheet, or excuse me, bank statement. If there are items missing, like there's income, and sometimes that happens, you receive a check on January 31st, but it doesn't hit your bank until February the 2nd. And so when you do that bank reconciliation, of course, in your records, it's going to show as January 31st, but it's the bank statement won't show it until February. And so that's when you know the discrepancy. There's a process to doing a bank reconciliation, but the easier thing is purchase QuickBooks. I'm just saying, and it's affordable. Get the simple start. It's $35 per month. I mean, it's worth every single penny. All right. Because when you're up at 2:00 in the morning, almost in tears, hands hurting because you've done so much typing and all that stuff, with a click of a button, you can have your bank reconciliation done. Okay, Anastasia, just want to make sure we will get the recording slides, etc., of this meeting afterwards. If you are, for some reason, haven't received the link already for the YouTube, reach out to me by Score with my Score email, which is jada.harris@scorevolunteer.org. It is in the chat. Then I will send you it to you directly, or have our admin send it to you. Carlos, I hear EB. TD, I know it's an acronym, a lot on finance news channels. Is that also an important metric for small business? Of course, yes, it is. And I believe that it has to do with inventory, but hey, don't quote me on that. But Google is your friend. Go ahead and put that in there. And I like Investopedia. They give some really good examples of financial terms and processes. So go ahead and put that in Google and see what comes up. But yes, it is an important metric. All right. Alvin, how should you set up your business bank accounts to best help bookkeeping? I heard this was a good setup. Income checking account for receivables, payables, tax saving accounts for quarterly, rainy day savings account for asset purchases. Alvin, that is a wonderful way to set up accounts as it relates to your business. It divides everything up so that you know that the income checking account, anything that comes to that checking account is income. When you set up the expense, anything that comes through the expense checking account is expenses. I love that. However, with QuickBooks, you can just have one account for all of this, and except for the savings, I would keep that separate. But you can have an account for all of this, and it will help you divvy out all of these incomes, expenses, so on and so forth, payroll. But if you want to have multiple accounts, hey, it just keeps it clean, keeps it real clean. The only thing is that if one day, whoops, I use the wrong debit card, for this, then we have to, make changes or whatever. But Alvin, I do like the scenario. As a bookkeeper, as an accountant, I do like the scenario. All right, Carla says, why some large companies choose to start their fiscal year not on January 1st? Should my small company follow suit? So most companies that decide to use a different fiscal year is because where they receive their income, that's how they operate on that fiscal year. So for example, with nonprofits, most granting agencies provide grants in July, okay? July, September, October, in that quarter, okay? And so their fiscal year will be July through June. Other large corporations, they may do it because of the way that they invest. Is just a lot of different ways. The IRS just wants to know which one is suited for you. For me, I prefer the January fiscal year because it is just clearer for me. I don't have to, divvy up a year of my income or expenses because I start in July. Now, I'm fully aware of the July through June fiscal year. That's how we operated at the university because, of course, we received a lot of grant funding. It's a very useful tool, but I personally would choose, as a for-profit business, small business, I would personally use January through December. Okay, and also as it relates to making decisions and events and things like that, as it relates to taxes, I know for me, in October, that's when I should start making decisions about the new year, the 2023. So October, I already started strategizing with my clients. I've already started strategizing with myself of what we're going to do in 2023. I've created the budget for 2023. And then I know that because of tax deadlines, when I have to pay taxes within that 2023. So I just like the the January through December fiscal year. Okay, Monique says on base methods, what if you accept cash and accrual? How should I adhere to GAAP guidelines? Again, Monique, that depends on your business structure. And your it's a business decision. Again, if it's cash, it's at the time of service. Accrual is over a period of time. And so if your business provides services on at the time of service, then more than likely you are a cash-based business. I would talk to a CPA at SCORE to help you make that determination as well. Anonymous, my records are fractured due to a hard past 3 years of loss. No audits to date. That's great. Hopeful, what to do? What do you advise? Okay, so I've had at least 4 to 5 clients. I just onboarded another one this year where I've had to clean up their records for the last 3 years. It looks like you have filed your tax returns. A couple of my clients hadn't. They're going to file them this year to get on board, to get on track. QuickBooks helps you to do that very easily. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you do need assistance in doing that. Again, if you reach out to me through SCORE, I would only be able to talk to you about your problem or your situation. I would not be able to physically help you with it. But reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can have a conversation. My profile on LinkedIn is in the chat and it's Jada A. Harris. Okay, anonymous. And it's interesting that you guys are numbering it 1, 2, and 3. But on anonymous, what traits should we look for when vetting a CPA for hire? That's a great question. So one of the tips that I don't have on the slide, but that I always give to when I teach or when I mentor my mentees or provide information to my clients, is that a CPA is usually regarded for their advice. They are licensed to give you financial advice so that you can make decisions like tax shelters, growth of your business, so on and so forth. I personally can tell you that, getting a PPP loan would be great for your business. I know they don't exist anymore, but I'm just saying it'd be great for your business. I can say that, but that's not advice. That's just me and you having a conversation because I'm not a CPA. But if you got that same tip or information from a CPA, then that would be advice that you can take to the bank. Okay. So your question is, as far as vetting them, I would utilize resources like the ProAdvisor website that QuickBooks provides, and you can see a profile, picture, logo, all of that good stuff of what CPAs in your area. You just put in the area code that you are located in, and all of those CPAs are in a 5-mile, 10-mile radius of you will pop up, and it'll let you know what QuickBooks they are certified with, whether it's desktop, online, advanced, whatever. That badge will be on that profile, lets you know what services they can provide to you. You can go to their website and get all of their good information. I would vet 3. I would talk to 3 different ones, see who you can get on the phone. So last year, or this year, God had told me that, okay, it's time for you to focus on contract management. And so I stopped doing taxes. And so I searched for a CPA to collaborate with to help my clients with their tax returns. So I do everything up into the tax return, and then me and that CPA collaborates to get the taxes done on a tax return due date basis. And so when I did search for that, it was the hardest thing. I've been searching for a CPA for 3 years. I mean, it was crazy. I couldn't get them on the phone. When I finally got them on the phone, just to talk to them was $150, just to ask them questions. When I, told them certain things about, my clients or about my business, they would, it wasn't familiar. It was a mess. So finally, I met someone through an organization, and we connected, and he has been serving my clients since actually since last year. So the CPA that I've onboarded is QuickBooks certified, advanced certified. He has worked with Deloitte and Touche, I believe it is, or it's Ernst & Young, one of the two. That's where his background comes from. And so he works out of Dallas. We work great together. So, it's a process in vetting your CPA, but it is something that is necessary. If you're not at the point where you need tax advice or tax shelter, I would suggest searching for a person that is an accountant, such as myself, or a bookkeeper. So I'll tell you the difference between the two as it relates to pricing, because you don't want to pay a CPA to do your bookkeeping, because they're going to charge you every bit of $700 to $1,500 a month to do bookkeeping, because that's what their charge is. They're licensed individuals. That's what they do. But if you don't need that level, then you should hire a bookkeeper that could be anywhere from $125 to $175 per month. They will do the ins and outs, the expenses, the income. They'll categorize that for you, make sure that it's clean for you, all that good stuff on a monthly basis. You will want to onboard an accountant in order for them to not only do the bookkeeping for you, but also provide you with your financial statements and analyze those financial statements for you. You know, when I meet with my clients on a monthly basis, I'll let them know, hey, you know, you had a negative net income this month. In order to recoup that, we're going to have to do X, Y, Z in the following months in order to recoup that. So that's what an accountant can do for you. I cannot give you tax advice. I'm not legally, I cannot do that. But an accountant would charge you anywhere from $175 a month to $500 a month, depending on the level of service that you need. So again, a CPA would charge you, you know, $500, $750 to $1,500 a month for their services. And they'll do everything a bookkeeper and an accountant will do for you, including giving you that tax advice. But again, you're paying up to $1,500 a month for that accountant, for that CPA. Okay, so that just gives you something to chew on. Okay, Carlos, can I keep paper receipts digitally scanned and get rid of the actual receipt paper? Yes, and you can do that with QuickBooks, or you can simply just take a picture of it and save it to your computer. But QuickBooks, when you do it with QuickBooks, you can snap the receipt, it'll upload to your QuickBooks, and when the transaction comes across your bank feed, it'll match the receipt to the expense. So when you, excuse me, if you ever were audited, then you can simply pull up that expense in QuickBooks and there the receipt is. Okay. Maria, I have asked for CPA advice through SCORE. I was told legally they can't give advice. I am looking for what you're saying. Okay. Legally, they cannot tell you. Well, no, if they are currently registered as a CPA, they can give you advice. They can tell you about tax shelters and all that good stuff. And our mentors that are CPAs, they can mentor you. They can talk to you. Just last week, I had two of my three clients that were interested in moving from sole proprietorship to an S corporation. We talked to a CPA at SCORE, and he helped us understand the ins and outs of S corporation. Now, can SCORE CPAs tell you to go to XYZ and get this, you know, IRA, or, you know, what kind of IRA to choose? No, we cannot do that. That will be, you know, over and above. But we can talk to you about what an IRA is. We can talk to you about what an S corporation is. We can have those conversations with you, but we cannot give you the advice to make a decision for your business. Okay, so that's that. I think that's what the difference is, what you're explaining, Maria. Okay, Maria says, what about setup? I'm not clear on what that question is. What about setup? So if you can clarify. Anonymous, we can hire you if we are not being mentored to ensure no conflicts. Anonymous, that is correct. So if you would like to hire me, then you reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website, or you can email me directly, and I'll put that information in the chat. But if we start a mentoring session, then you cannot be my client. That is correct. Sylvia, for a small business with no employees, which version of QuickBooks do you recommend? I always recommend any business to start with Simple Start. It is the boilerplate bottom basic that you need in order to run your business, especially without employees. But if for some reason in 2 months, three weeks, a day, you find out that you need more from that Simple Start subscription level, you can upgrade at any time. Okay. And so what you also do need to know, Sylvia, is that when you do have employees, QuickBooks Payroll is a separate subscription. So you would get QuickBooks Simple Start to manage your business, and then you would get QuickBooks Payroll to do your payroll for you. Now, if you have QuickBooks Simple Start, you can list your employees and contractors in your Simple Start to manage their information. But when it comes to actually paying them, direct deposit, all that good stuff, then you need to purchase QuickBooks Payroll. So that's two different subscriptions, just letting you as well as everyone here know that that is an expectation. Okay, Zuli was going to hire QuickBooks Live Bookkeeping, but you do this as well? Yes, I do. And as I explained earlier, it's not, I've had at least 3 clients come to me that used QuickBooks Bookkeeping and they weren't happy because one, well, this last one was a doozy. They got bad advice. The bookkeeper told them in order to get rid of an invoice that was not utilized. So the client invoiced somebody and they decided not to go with the services. So instead of voiding it or deleting the invoice, this bookkeeper with QuickBooks told them to mark it as paid. It blew my mind. So I helped him clean that up. But that was a doozy. But generally, the bookkeepers are pretty well vetted through QuickBooks Live. But the other clients that have come to me, they come to me because in January they had one bookkeeper, in February they had 2 different bookkeepers. It was never consistent. And when they switch bookkeepers like that, they would have to explain why, what happened in the past. It was a mess. So, even if you don't choose me, I suggest that you get a bookkeeper or accountant in your local area so that if anything goes wrong, you can knock on their doors, because the bookkeepers in QuickBooks Live can be anywhere. They could be in New York, they could be, in California. And, if something goes wrong or you don't understand or you need further explanation, in-person meeting, you have to go to California or something. I don't know, but, at least by choosing a bookkeeper here, you have that connection. They know about Texas laws and Houston opportunities and things like that. So yes, I do bookkeeping and book accounting. G. Springer, hello, I don't see your email in the chat. Do you mind posting again? So yes, I will go ahead and post that. If you're putting questions in the chat, please move those to the Q&A so that I can see them. I would look in the chat for questions, but that would be the last thing that I do. So my LinkedIn profile is I'm putting this in here now, and I'm not a fast typer, so that wasn't my strong suit. Is Jada A. Harris, and then my SCORE email is jada.harris@scorevolunteer.org. And then my website is www.hc-bc.com. And you can reach me there and find out all good information about what I do. But then as far as my business email, it is jada@hc-bc.com. And that is now in the chat for you. Okay. All right. Claudine, how do I put a client account on hold in QuickBooks if they are carrying a running balance to prevent that money on hold to enter the account system before I get paid fully? Okay. I'm assuming that you have this client on recurring payment. I think that's what you're talking about. And you can pause them anytime by going to recurring transactions, going to that individual and putting them, and you can pause it so that it won't, the recurring payment won't come in. Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. If not, please clarify. Sylvia, will most accountants work with QuickBooks? That's a good question, Sylvia. And the question is a 50-50 question out there. I believe it or not, especially accountants and CPAs that are older, that are wiser, they have a lot of great, they're a great resource. they're not connected with QuickBooks. They don't readily utilize it. And if they do, sometimes they mostly use QuickBooks Desktop, which I'm not a proponent of that. I mean, QuickBooks Desktop is definitely usable, but I'm a QuickBooks Online Pro advisor. And so, and I suggest everyone to use it because of the accessibility at the very minimum. I mean, your accountant, your bookkeeper, your friend, your mama, everybody is able to access your QuickBooks that they have a user access all at the same time. Whereas QuickBooks Desktop, only you can utilize it on the device that you're utilizing. And most accountants, it's a 50-50 thing, where there's a lot of accountants that don't use QuickBooks. There's some people just don't like QuickBooks, and that's okay. They're not me. But in order to ensure that the accountant that you're vetting is QuickBooks certified or uses QuickBooks, you can go to that Pro Advisor, just type in Pro Advisor accountant in the Google, and it'll pull it up, and you can add your zip code that you want, and you can find a Pro Advisor QuickBooks certified accountant in your area, as well as bookkeepers and CPAs. Okay, Zuli says, does SCORE have mentors for all types of businesses? Yes, we do. So we have every aspect. So if you have a social media business that you want to get off the ground, we have individuals that you talk to about that. And if you can't find someone here in Houston, we have someone all over the United States, but every industry we do cover. Claudine, where do you teach your QuickBooks class, and how do I enroll in it? Okay, so the hands-on QuickBooks classes I teach at the Small Business Development Center here in Houston, over in the Galleria area. And they are periodically on various subjects. I do teach the online basic class, how to utilize it as a tool, but then we also do a deep dive into bank reconciliations, invoicing. Coming up soon, we're going to talk about payroll and W-2s and 1099s, because you're going to have to submit those by January 31st. So it's time for you for everyone to get started with putting that into the system and getting those organized so that you can submit those timely. And QuickBooks provides a great resource, a great tool that you can do that with a click of a button. So that class will be taught on December 5th. We're getting that organized right now, so it's not posted just yet. So y'all got the pre-information. But yes, that's where I teach those classes. I do teach contract management classes through my business. So that is also something, if you're interested in getting information as it relates to getting certified, as well as managing your contracts, as well as building infrastructure within your business to support contracts. That's what I do through my business. Okay. All right. So Anonymous, does QuickBooks help with generating 1099s for contract employees? Yes, I just answered your question. Yes, it does. It does it in a click of the button. Again, I remember when I had to do it by hand, and I had to line up the forms and make sure it prints out. And I tell you, I was up till for each of my clients, up till 2:00 in the morning, trying to get these things submitted on time, in the mail, postmarked by January 31st, all that good stuff. With QuickBooks payroll, as well as the 1099 contractors, you'll have that information inputted correctly. You click a button, you make sure everything is appropriate. They print the forms for you, send them by mail to the 1099s and by email. So not only do the 1099s and the W-2s, they receive it by email or by paper, but they also receive it by email. It is an additional charge for that. I think it's around $50, but it's worth every single penny, every single one of them. All right. So yes, do check into that. If you want to ask me more questions about that, or you need help with it, reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you just simply have questions and you're going to go with someone else to actually do it, say you already have an accountant and you just want to ask questions, reach out to me through SCORE, and we can just talk about it. But I can't fix or can't do anything for you on that one. Okay, Anonymous, go back on QuickBooks if never done reconciliation? Okay, so you should at least go back 3 years, because again, if you ever get audited, the IRS is going to go back 3 years. But if that's too much for you, or you just want to get started, start with the beginning of the year, whether it's, 1/1 of 2022 or 1/1 of 2023. But you do want to have that information. You do want to have it in your QuickBooks so that, or in your business, so that you have it as a basis of your business information. Okay, sure, yeah. Thank you so much for your time. You're so very welcome. We like your bookkeeping intro. Thank you. Would you give PowerPoint on how to use QuickBooks in future classes? Yes, I can give you the PowerPoint. I can email it to you. So just reach out to me on jada.score or jada.harris@scorevolunteer.org, and I'll send you the PowerPoint. But yes, there is another QuickBooks online webinar like today. That's free through SCORE. That's coming up. I don't have the date just yet, but that's coming up, and we'll do a SCORE on QuickBooks Online webinar. I do suggest you attending that webinar before you do a hands-on class, but it is a resource that is coming up. Okay, Maria, I have QuickBooks, need to help set up. I need guidance. Yes, I do provide setup as a part of my services through my business. So you would reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I do that as a one-time service, or as a quarterly service, or as a monthly service. So I do train my clients on how to utilize it and create a workflow that's specific to their business so that they can utilize it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and then help them make sure that it's set up sufficiently. If that's all they need, then they can, run from there. Then that's a one-time meeting. But if you would like to do that, as well as have a quarterly meeting to make sure that you're doing your QuickBooks correctly, that you're entering transactions correctly, then we can also meet on a quarterly basis. But if you're like, you know what, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a bookkeeper, I have an art business, here, take it. Then that's when I help you on a monthly basis and help you, navigate your QuickBooks and all that good stuff on a monthly basis. Okay. Is outsourcing bookkeeping to another country, which is cheaper cost, is this legal? You can definitely outsource to another country if you'd like. That's, that is legal. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do business with other countries. You can, my business is global. I'm about to branch off to Europe, France, actually. So within the next year. So you can definitely do business globally. Maria, need guidance and understanding and help set up QuickBooks Essentials. Okay, so when I can outsource, I know what I need. Absolutely, Maria. Yes, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Shalonda, wonderful. I will contact you on LinkedIn. Perfect. Thank you for reaching out. So those are all the questions that I have in the Q&A area. So I'm going to go through, because we got a few minutes left. So I'm going to go through the chat very quickly. Hello, can the 30-minute consult be virtual or in person? Takira, yes, my consultations are virtual unless you do want to meet in person. I can do that. But yes, I normally meet through Zoom for the consultations as well as for the training. So yes, I have an opportunity to share my screen so that you can see what I see, and share your screen so I can see what you see. That is an opportunity. Rose says, thank you. You're so welcome. There's so many great takeaways to apply to my business. Wonderful, Rose. I really appreciate that. Okay. You're welcome, G Springer. Okay, you got my information. Okay. All right. I'm just scrolling through here. Okay, so Sonia Bright says, or an EA who specializes in taxes and authorized IRS. I don't understand your statement there. Okay. So I don't think that was a question for me. I think you were corresponding with someone. Question, any Western credit union can probably give you loans for small business if you only been in business less than a year. I'm not sure on that. I'm not familiar with their loan processes, but there are SCORE mentors that can talk to you about lending and lending offices. We have within SCORE organizations that we connect with that does small business lending. So you do want to reach out to SCORE, and we can help you with some micro centers like People Fund, GCMI, those individuals that can help you with getting small business lending. Okay. You mentioned about challenges in terms of products or service pricing. Any suggestions in terms of resources or references? This is a good question. For me, again, it's trial and error and Googling, and you can reach out to a SCORE mentor who can kind of have a conversation with you about pricing. But again, it's research based. You got to see what your competitors are doing. You got to see what's popular. You got to see what, because you do want to be competitive. If you have a superior product, then you're able to price even better. But yeah, having a conversation with the SCORE mentor would, help you tremendously. Okay. Everyone, you're so welcome. Ishka, thank you. I said, is it better to use QuickBooks or Paychex for payroll? This is another one of my little tips or pet peeves. I always suggest QuickBooks Payroll. I've used the other payroll systems in the past, and they are far less superior than QuickBooks Payroll. I mean, they have answered questions, done things magic, just done things for me that have done great things for payrolls for my clients. So I always suggest QuickBooks Payroll, and it's affordable. It's so affordable. Starting out, Payroll Core is $39 a month, and it does everything for you. Everything from direct deposit all the way to filing your tax forms, your 941s, your 940s, your unemployment taxes, so on and so forth. It's a great resource. Okay, so we are about at time. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of the questions. But I do have a resource for you. Those of you who hung in here, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and put your email in the chat, and I will email you a list of all the tax deductions that you should consider as a small business. QuickBooks has provided this resource, and I don't mind emailing it to you for free, so that you can utilize it as you're making business decisions, or if you're at Office Depot and you're about to purchase that scanner, you can look on that list and say, oh yes, I can deduct this as a tax deduction. Mileage, all the good questions that you have about tax deductions. So please put your email in the chat, reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will provide that resource to you. Again, this is a great tool for you to, QuickBooks is a great tool to utilize in running your business. Again, it's a boiler basic. I'm just telling you a little bit. But if you're in construction or you do project management, there's a project management tool within QuickBooks. There's so many resources. Do join us for the QuickBooks Online presentation that will be coming up pretty soon. And then we'll talk all about QuickBooks Online. If you have burning questions prior to then, please feel free to reach out to me on the information that I provided to you. I thank you for joining this webinar. Let me go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to save the chat. Okay, look, it's still going. Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm going to save the chat so I can get your emails. I'm going to get out of here. And I just want to thank you for joining us. We look forward to you utilizing our resources in the future. If you want to meet a mentor in person or through Zoom, if you want to meet in person, we are located, our primary location is on Gessner. But if you're in the Woodlands or Katy or any of those, we have satellite locations as well. But you can, the information to reach out to us is on the screen, again, at houston.score.org. And y'all have a great rest of your day. All right.